Hello everybody, Gisele Grenier here. In this video I'm going to create another journal page for my flat journal, I guess you want to call it. I haven't really come up with a theme for it, but this particular journal I'm working on is the one about enjoying the process. Really heavily challenging things for me and just enjoying the process instead of the end result. So, yeah, I've got a bunch of stuff on my table. I'm going to cover off what I end up using at the end of the video because I'm going to be mishmashing it. My idea is to create a journal page using texture but keeping it relatively flat. And so it's going to be textured with, it's kind of like a sky scene, and I wanted, and the actual focal point, boy, I had a hard time with that because I had so much metal work that I wanted to use, but it's in a journal. I want to keep this flat because that's my challenge, is keeping it as flat as possible. Was a bird, and that's where I really got stuck. So I've got a few options here, but I've got some stamps, some cardstock. I wanted to try corrugated cardboard, which I don't think is going to work. But let me just go over initially what I've pulled out. And so I've got some DecoArt Chalky Gesso White, some DecoArt Americana Decoupage Matte, some DecoArt Dimensional Effects. This is a paintable texture paste. DecoArt Medium Mister Carbon Black, DecoArt Media Fluid Acrylics Phthalo Blue, and Cobalt Teal Hue. I have no idea. I'm probably going to pull out some more. And then what I have here as my backup is I've got the Cling Grunge script stamps and my Stays On pad. Two quotes. The quote that spoke to me. This time I looked for the quote first. Ridiculously thankful. And I cut this crooked. I really cut it crooked. What I'm going to start doing now is when I'm going to go to my Canva file. I print all these off on canva.com. Create the pieces and I just print them. I'm going to put little borders so I can trim by hand. But you can make these yourself and you can open up a free account with Canva. All right, so I'm just going to basically get started. So I have a piece that's already glued, but just for those that are watching for the first time, if you're working on raw paper, what you want to do is you want to give it a coat of DecoArt Chalky Gesso, the white. And when I talk about raw paper, I mean this stuff. So that way when you're painting, it doesn't sink into the cardboard and then cause it to go all wonky and it takes forever to dry. So I'm just, so now what I'm doing is I'm gluing two pages together to thicken them up because these are scrapbook pages. Again, if you're watching for the first time, you're not going to know what I'm doing. The scrapbook pages are papers that I didn't use either because they were ugly or just too pretty to use, and I've accumulated them over a year because I'm not a scrapbook expert by any means. This is just script, and then this is a thing, and I'll tell you why I alternated this. And then just have a little block, and I'll just press that really heavy, and I put the decoupage medium on both sides because it allows me to shift it. That's what happens when it's unprotected. But that's fine. And I'm just going to grab a baby wipe and I'm just going to clean up the edges. And then what I'll do is that when it's dry, I'll trim that a little bit. Okay. Now the reason why I chose a different pattern for this one is as I'm making the pages. So let's say on this side I have here and I have here. Then I'm going to flip it. And then this one here will be this. So it's a way to keep everything cohesive. But I have... I'll just use this one here. This one is already prepared. Alright, so I'm going to collage a little bit of tissue, but I want to print the tissue. And I should have did this on my no stick mat. I promise, I'm gonna try to work out the glare issue. I'm just gonna grab some tissue and I'm just gonna look, and these are just stamped with feathers. I kind of like that idea because the theme is going to be a bird. Yeah, I kind of like that. So I'm going to grab a piece here, and of course I forgot the block. I'm going to grab my piece of acrylic, and so I'll just put these around. I just put it on top of the, that's not going to work. So it's going to go this way. So I'll have to turn it backwards. Sorry. Mind shift. I'm just trying to alternate some of these. This is just creating just a little pattern in the background because I'm going to be putting texture paste on this, so it won't matter. It won't matter. That's it. Okay. Then I'll take my StazOn pad. I used to hate the smell of this stuff. Oh, I love it. Okay, now turn that over. That still didn't work. What did I do wrong? What did I do wrong? Oh, you know what? Poop on this. Poop on this. I'm just going to stamp it. When I watch the playback of the video, I'll go, oh, that's what I did wrong. And let me just clean the stamp up. I think it's too early in the morning to do stuff like this. All right, so I'll put those back after so I don't take up your time. And this is just I don't even have the name of it. It's just a feather stamp that I picked up on Amazon. So for some reason, Michael's has really cut down on this stuff here. I have no idea why. They really cut down on it. So I'll just put this, go to tear. And it's really good if the paper, when you're tearing it, if it's off the grain. So this is with the grain, so it tears straight. And you purposely have to make it wonky. But when you're tearing across, it is perfect. Across the grain, you get those beautiful, beautiful edges. So how about we do this? All right, I'm going to keep those bits. And now what I want to do is I want to apply the decoupage medium to the actual paper. This could be any paper, it doesn't matter. Now usually I would collage the tissue so I could reposition it, but because this is going to be it's really torn and it's just one layer I'm going to be putting on, I'm not going to worry about it. But usually if you've got something a little bit thicker, put the decoupage medium on both sides and you can reposition the stuff. Same thing as when we glued the pages back to back. All right, love that. And then you can turn around and add more pieces if you want. I'm not going to. I'm going to leave it just the way it is. And now, yeah, so if you have extras, you can just layer, layer, layer if your paper's thin. So I'm going to take that and put that aside. Now, the fun part, the drying time. So depending on what you're collaging, you can hit it with a heat gun. What you don't want to do is you don't want to do this if your medium is too thick. Otherwise, you're just going to dry the top and the actual you know, the medium on the bottom layer is not going to dry. And what happens as it evaporates, it might contract and crack. If that's what the look you're looking for, you know, no biggie. No power. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab a smaller block and I'm going to stamp the empty spots. It'll be much stronger. Do this one off. Yeah. Nice. The majority of this stuff is going to be covered up anyways with the texture paste. Yeah, and don't forget to stamp part off, like off the piece. Oh my goodness, my mouth is rented today. I haven't finished my coffee yet. So it looks like a lot, but let's put this at one here. It's going to be, a lot of it's going to be covered up. Love it. Love it, love it, love it. All right, move that over. Move that over. Move that over. Cover that up. All right, so I'm just going to dry that. Now you can, and again, like I said before, you can layer and layer and layer the tissue paper. But you can see that it becomes almost transparent. You see a little bit of the edge here, which is fine. Now, the texture paste. So I'm going to be, now I don't use this one a lot, the Decor Dimensional Effects. But I thought I'd use that. And yeah, so I'm just going to, so just going to, oh, you know what I want to do? Hang on a second. Where is it? I'm going to also use the Decor Medium Modeling Paste to clear. I want to overlay this because I've always wanted to try doing that. Now the binding is going to be here, so I have to be careful how much, I have to keep this part thin. I'm going to be binding it there. But what I want is I want some parts that are thick and I want some parts that are thin, and you want to keep it rough with lots of texture, but not too, well, depending. If you're just doing this as mixed media art, then you don't have to worry about it. But if you're like a canvas, but because this is a journal, I have to thin that down just a little bit. Here we go. A little bit of the thin. Just curious how that's going to look. Okay, that looks pretty good. And I'm looking at this thinking, oh, I could stamp in that and I could do this and I could do this. No, I gotta stay focused. Whoops, there goes my alarm. Medication time. Good timing because now we have that moment in time that we look forward to so much. We live for this moment. We have to let that dry. While that's drying, it has to dry naturally, I'm going to glue the words to a piece of cardstock. Now, when you're doing these, if you're printing these yourself, the ink is more permanent if you're using actual, what's called original ink, which is not no-name stuff. Now, unless you've bought something, ink for your printer that's You know, if it's like a, you know, like no name ink, but it says it is permanent, then that's fine. I'm using HP ink, which is ridiculously permanent. All right, so that's on there. So I'm going to let that dry. And what else can we do while we're waiting for the dry? That drying time drives me. Oh, the birdie. Let's work on the birdie. Let's work on the birdie. So what I have is a big piece of glare. All right, so I wanted to cut the birdie out of this corrugated cardboard stock that I got at the where? The dollar store, maybe? I have no idea where I got this. Usually if I get a Dollarama, it actually has a Dollarama price tag on it. So I have no idea where I got this. I'm thinking Dollarama though, because I wouldn't have paid Michael's prices. So I was thinking about cutting it out of that, and it's kind of small and fussy cutting. I am not good at that at all. Then I got this paper pack. It's one of the pieces that I bought this. It was so beautiful. Didn't want to use it. I got it at a closeout store, scrapbook closeout store many years ago. Only paid $5.99 Canadian. Artwork by Donna Estabrooks. And her stuff is absolutely gorgeous. I can just imagine the canvas pieces that this woman's done. So I saw this little bird. And there was another little bird. Oh, I love that. Not a fan of that pure sparkle, but where's the other little bird? Oh, that's the same one. Bear with me. Hope you're not hearing the whoosh whoosh on the microphone. And there's that one. That's, I think, a little big. That little guy. Is that it? Oh, the sleepy one, but that's too big. So, I mean, you can paint these by hand. There's nothing, not diminishing her artwork, but there's nothing extraordinary about, you know, this little bird. But I'm liking this little one here. I just don't like the glitter. Oh, Joe's home. I don't like the glitter. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to see if I can cut this out and see what it looks like on the card. But as a backup, somewhere here, I have one that I already pulled out. Okay, what I did with this, I smushed some of the modeling paste down because it was taking a really long time to dry, or the dimensional texture paste and the clear stuff. The clear stuff does dry clear, so that's kind of interesting. I think I'm going to actually push some of that back with a little bit of gesso, just a little bit. I'll just put one drop right there. There's just some part that's just a little too, but I want to really pick up some of that paint or some of that texture, because I'm going to be putting some stronger paint on there. But in order to do that, you need light to show dark, and you need dark to show light. So if everything is just dark, the paint's not going to really stand out. I also want to do the edge while I'm here. So now it really picks up that texture. All right, let me just quickly dry that. Oh, and I got a message. So I've been using this for a couple of days now. It's just a piece of scrapbook paper I paint, and then when it gets really, really busy, then I'll just go over the gesso. I'm going to end up using this in a piece of art. So that way, just to see what happens. Or maybe I'll keep it for a junk journal. I don't know. Oh, wow. Look at that. You can still see the stamp through it. Now, the birdie. So I cut it out, and it's a little big. It's too close. So I could cut it to right about here. But then what I did is I found pieces that I cut out on my brother's Scan and Cut. And I thought these were kind of cool. So he could go here because he's facing in towards the piece, and then I cut these so I could put the quotes right there. I kind of like that idea. And I also like that idea. It's not too big. So I'm going to play with those two. So I'm going to put that pad away. And let's create that edge. So I'm going to get Decor Media Fluid Acrylics Burnt Umber and Naphthol Red Light. I want to make the edging a little bit more on the red side. Oops, let me just get this out of the way. Make sure I move my coffee to the other side. A little bit more burnt umber. And I'm going to reuse, so 2 parts burnt umber, 1 part Naphthol Red Light. And I'm going to reuse this as well. Here we go. So it's almost like a rusty color. And let's go with the sponge, and I'm just going to go here. Now this one here, I'm going a little bit more into the card, because when everything is said and done, I'm going to be coming in with something very, very dark. So this is kind of like a feathered effect, a vignette, a tight vignette. But black would be just too strong at this point. Now now see how I tried to wipe that off and I couldn't? Matte medium on top of this, I would have been able to clean that up. But I'm not worried because I'm going to have tissue there. All right. And while I'm here, I'm going to use that same color on the pieces of paper. Yeah, and when I print these, next time I'm going to print them directly on cardstock. It'll save me a step having to glue them. Anything that saves me a step. And same thing with here. I put a little bit too much. Doesn't wipe off because, well, actually it should wipe off. Hang on a second. Yep, there we go. Because I did put matte medium on that, so I should be able to do this one too. And if you're ever working at it and it doesn't come off, then you could add a dab of rubbing alcohol. Just be careful how much you push on that, because you don't want to cut through the matte medium or decoupage medium or whatever it is that you used. Okay, that takes care of that. And that should be dry enough. Now I'm going to just put a little bit on the inside. And I'm going to be coming in, I like this color. I was going to come in with a blue, but now I'm kind of liking this here. And I've got some action happening under here, so I'm going to put a little bit of this here to create a little bit of contrast. I think I want to use some cheesecloth for that. I was going to use tissue, but no, I think I want to use some cheesecloth or burlap. Nice, 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 nice. Okay, I still need that. Put that in water. All right, so now let's put, let me think. I got some drying stuff to do. So if I were to leave that little bird, he kind of gets lost in there. So I want to put something in the background. And I'm thinking, this is really thick. This is a little too thick. But it's really pretty. I could do something like that. But this is really, really thick. It's really good quality, but it's really thick. Then I thought, okay, what if I just used tissue again? And then do something like that. That actually is not bad. And it's flat enough Okay, so that's fine. There's cheesecloth, but I'm thinking now what I want to do with this is I want to paint that. I want to set some of that color back. Now, if you printed this, or if you did something like this on white cardstock, then you'd be fine. I'm just going to use a stencil brush, and we're just going to push. So just painting this with gesso. And if you've got a Cricut machine, then you know that you can just, load your pattern up and cut this up. But just cut it on white cardstock if you don't want to prep it, or cut it out on pattern paper. See, I could have loaded up one of my text-based scrapbook papers, and that would have worked really nicely. Now I'm pouncing on this, but I have to flatten this out because I want to do some stamping, but I want the stamping to be broken. And by pouncing, this dry brush technique, it won't take long to dry. And I'm going to do this little guy at the same time. I'm not sure which one I'm going to use. And I didn't cover this with matte medium because I don't need to be able to blend it out. Now, if I would have used a DecoArt Media gesso, it would have been way too thick. I really would have had to thin it down, or used the bottle that I have that is much thinner, which I don't use anymore now that I have the DecoArt Chalky Gesso. But the more water you add to gesso, it sinks into the paper and it takes longer to dry, believe it or not. Okay, I like that. It's kind of... All right. Take whatever's left over in my brush and I'll just... All right, in water. So, let's see. Which one am I going to use? I am leaning towards this one. I am leaning towards this. I'm leaning towards that. I like that. But I also really like this. And then I would just put the quote up here. This is where you kind of have to play with balance. This is supposed to be something super simple. If you think about it, when you have everything planned out, like not to an excessive degree, this piece here, other than drying time, should only take you 10 minutes. So I just have to now figure out what I want to do. I think I'm going to use this one. Yeah, keep that one for another, so something else. So what I'm going to do now is, I was going to make this blue. I don't think I want to make it blue now. I think I like that grungy look. But it's all about experimenting, right? So let's give it a shot. I gotta pick up a little watercolor well. Okay, so I'm using phthalo blue and cobalt teal hue. And I want to create a very, very washy, lots of water. I could have also used the DecoArt Media Misters for the dark blue. And I'm going to take round brush and, oh, where's my little block? And just, whoops. And again, this you don't have to do this. I just wanted to expand. I'm going to be bringing out a lot of this, taking a lot of this out. Oops, that mixed right in there. Take some of that light blue. It's supposed to be like a sky. I didn't need all that. I'd actually use that in an art journal page as a background. Look at that. So So when that dries, I'll just rinse it out. I'll just rinse it out to get rid of any of the baby wipe stuff that's left behind, because you don't want to affect the paint adhesion. Okay. So I want this to be focused more down here. Now I'm going to dry that. Nice, 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 nice. Nice. Just want to wipe out some little areas just to get a little bit more grunge in there. Nice. Now these should really stand out now. Yeah. Yeah, nice. Okay, let me just wipe that. Oops. When I start working on the back sides of the pages, you have to be a little bit more careful. Okay, I'm going to dry that over my garbage can. I love that. See, the pieces, there's art pieces wherever you look. All right, so I want to come in and now I'm going to, oops, not that. I'm going to darken this now with raw umber. So now this is the next stage. And that's exact. Is this seem mixed? If you what you can do is, if you want to use distress inks, use something like a Vintage Photo. That one's a nice one. But I want permanence, which is why I use acrylic paint. You know what would happen if I took black and dipped it in that? I've never mixed the medium misters with acrylic paint before. I would think it would make things thinner. Oh my God. That's an interesting effect. It's really subtle. Yeah, that's really subtle. And this is now almost like a deep burgundy. Yeah. So this is just going to go on the edge. And that all that left over, I'm going to spread it out on another journal page. I actually may just put it over here. There we go. In water. And I'm going to just cover that up because I don't want to, well, if I end up losing it, I lose it. I'm just going to come in just to wipe up a little bit. Okay, dry that. And now, we just have to collage. You know what's missing? I had some beautiful twine and I'm looking and I can't find it. I can't find it. So that's done. That's done. All right. Which one did I end up saying I'm going to use? This one here, right? Okay. Yeah, I like that. So I can take, oh, you know what I want to do? Hang on. I brought out this, now I don't think I've ever used this. got this on clear out at Len's Mill. It's Heidi Grace border stamps. And I was looking at this squiggle line. And to me, do it with a pencil, but I want to use up supplies that I have. You know, it's one of those things where you can get, you know, stamps, thing like that for like $1. Oh. I'm going to use it. I'm going to use it. All right, let's just see what happens. Let's just see what happens. It's all about experimenting, right? Oh, that's kind of neat. That's interesting. Wonder why I didn't stamp the other side. Yeah, it looks sewn. Okay, that one I lost a little bit. There we go. This way. That is kind of neat. Okay, I'm glad I did that. My sewing machine doesn't work anymore, so now I'm thinking it's so old, it's not worth repairing. So now I have to get another one, but because I used to sew the edges of my cards, my pieces, because it was just so beautiful. And yeah, now I can't. Next best thing, I guess. Next best thing. And we'll need this here. So I want to take the, which one? I want to take this scripty stamp. And I'm thinking, oh, I'm going to lose part of it. Okay, so it's going to be like that. Don't want it to be too heavy. And I'm also not going to paint that. Okay, that was dumb. Now I'm not sure how I'm going to push that stuff down. Oh, I could have did this too. No, that's too clean now, but I can use this one here. I just want to put a little bit more in here. Oh, you know what? Forget that. Too much work. I like that. Cracked sidewalk, cracked clay. All right, so put that over here. Yeah, that turned out really nice. Now what I have to figure out is, can I do this? Yep, that's not too bad. Take that same color. And just going to go on the outside of the birdie. Just a little bit. Now again, if you're not comfortable with doing this, what you can do is apply a little bit of matte medium onto the surface. Oops, I covered that up. Oh, that actually doesn't look bad. Dry brush a little bit of that there. Oh, I like that. Okay. Put a little bit of matte medium on there, so that way you can actually wipe it off. And darken up his legs. See here, I got a little bit too much smudgy. Can I wipe that up? Just a little bit, not much. It's right in the gesso. The gesso is doing its job. So what I can do is now just, because I don't want that stand out too much, is just to grunge up a bit of the other areas, just so it doesn't look like it's out of place. There we go. Nice. I think we're ready to glue. So this side here. So what I'm making with the paper is almost like a little nest. Like that. Oops, he's this way. Yeah. Like that. Okay, the matte medium, or the decoupage matte. Put quite a bit down there. Push that down. It doesn't take much, but I do want some of the pieces to stick up like that. Then the birdie. And when the book is closed, he'll naturally flatten out. Oh, shoot, where is it? Oh, I just came up with an idea. Oh, crap. I've got this moss for another project I'm working on. Wonder if I can take a little bit of this and put it under his feet. Okay, that's going to take a little bit of creativity to flatten him out. Yeah, I like that. I like that. Now, if a lot of stuff, if I'm doing it and it doesn't appeal to you, you know what? That's fine. That's fine. But just take the techniques and adapt it to yourself. Like I get so many emails saying, well, I like what you did. I don't, the color wasn't my style or whatever. That's fine. Just don't get hung up on stuff like that. Okay, so I'm going to pull him off. And I'm just going to get this stuff in there. Let's see if I can cut. And then drip that down. And I'll trim that at the end. I'll trim it right to the edges. That's actually going to work out really, really nice. That way he's standing on something and not just floating. I use this to make resin jewelry for underwater scenes. I was going to start showing some of that on camera, but nobody expressed any interest in it, so I'm not going to do stuff that you guys don't want to see. But mind you, 2022 is about me exploring my art. There's so many channels out there when it comes to art stuff, and really, you can only consume so much content. You got to start doing stuff for yourself. There's no point in watching a gazillion videos and not doing it. I would rather you guys create a bunch of shitty art at least you're creating instead of just spending all your time watching and doing nothing. And I apologize if I offended anybody. Actually, no, I'm not sorry. Not sorry. You wouldn't believe how many messages I get from people saying, oh, I want to do this, I want to do that. So, well, what have you made lately? And they haven't made anything in months. I was like, well, you know what? You got to just make it. Just do it. Stop watching a bunch of YouTube videos. It's kind of counterintuitive, right? Stop watching YouTube videos and make. Start building. I got to put a spacer underneath his little head. Could put a little piece of cardboard there. This wasn't part of the plan, but you know what? So what? And now I'm thinking this would have been better if he was thicker. Once this tacks up, then I'm going to push it flat down with a piece of wax paper. So let me take this stuff here. Oh, over his head. And then whatever's left over will just fall off. Okay. This is just to hold him flat. All right. And now I'm going to put these guys on the card. Just going to drop it. Not going to push it right now because I don't know where I want it to go. I don't want it to be too even. I want it to be a little bit curved. All right, that's going to take a little bit to dry. That paper is this because there's a lot of medium. Oh, I'm such an idiot. Okay, where is it? Oh. Liquid glass. It will get right into everything. I think this one's okay. I'm gonna do it anyways. There we go. So that's what I use, the liquid glass. So when I go in, I'm going to let this tack up for about 15 minutes. Then I'll come in and I'll push it down. What I just need to do is for it to tack up enough that it'll hold. Because now it's still really wet. This one's actually holding now. The liquid glass is perfect for this. And the birdie, that's going to be the same thing. It'll get to a point where it'll be tacked up enough where I can actually push down on it. And what I could do is I could use a heat gun and just dry the medium that's on top of his body. That way I can actually use wax paper to push everything down. Let's get more under his tail. There, it's just a support. And this is only because I should have cut him out on cardstock. That's the only reason why I have to do this. So that's going to be an interesting experiment. Ooh, hang on, let's put one of these over his beak. Nope, I should have left it. It looked like he had one of these in his mouth. Okay, well that was a long time. Holy moly. All right, so off camera, what I'll do is I'll just check this about every 15 minutes and, you know, keep pushing it down until it's ready. And when this is dry, then I'll put a piece of wax paper and I'll press it. Because like I said, this is for a journal. So it needs to be relatively flat. Because right now, that's how thick it is. But a lot of it is just air from the moss. So there you go, you guys. I'm just taking a sienna pencil, burnt sienna pencil, and just adding a little bit of a border around here. And it is a watercolor pencil, so it's not permanent, but at this point is that this won't be handled anymore. It's going to be in, let's say, the art journal. So one thing I didn't even think, this took 3 hours to dry. And at this point now, I'm wondering if somebody's going to be saying the same thing. Why don't you just use a heat gun or a glue gun? Because I couldn't find it. There you go. But I did find it. I went into my closet, took everything out because I had moved into a different room. And yeah, so I ended up finding it. So we're all good. So I'll be doing a lot more of the glue stick. There we go. And let's just tear a little bit of this off here. We're good. There we go. All right. So now it's time to go over everything I ended up using. Put that over there. And so, well, we'll start off right from the beginning. A sienna brown watercolor pencil. Actually, let me put that there so there's no glare. All right, watercolor pencil, brown. Stamp pad, block for the stamps. So just feather stamps, a border stamp. This stupendous Cling Grunge script stamp, which is lots of stickiness. Okay, so stamps and the blocks. Okay, watercolor pencil. And then bring all this. That way, if you have the same products, you can get the same effect. DecoArt Chalky Gesso, white. DecoArt Americana Decoupage, the matte finish. DecoArt Media Fluid Acrylics, Phthalo Blue, Burnt Umber, Cobalt Teal Hue, Naphthol Red Light, and Raw Umber. Okay. And the DecoArt Dimensional Effects is the paintable texture paste, and the DecoArt Media Modeling Paste, the clear. Whoopsie. And the DecoArt Media Liquid Glass, and the DecoArt Media Mister, the Carbon Black, and a little spray bottle. I used a block, scissors, palette knife, and then paintbrushes. That's it. All right, so this is going to go now as part of the journal, which is where? Over here. So just to show you what I've got so far with this, and I've got another idea coming up here. So I've got the cover so far. Let me get this out of the way. I've got a really big close-up here, but now everything is shiny. So the cover, and I'm going to do something in here. I've got this one, so I'm going to create something on the back. Then I've got this one. I'm going to create something on the back. So I can now, if I want to do something more vintage, I can bind it this way. So now when it opens, it'll open like that. Then I can do something more blue on that side. That's why with this particular journal, I'm not going to bind it until the very end, because so far, look, that's how thick it is. So you can't push it down too flat, otherwise you might damage the stuff. And then the back cover. The back cover. And then I'm going to trim these down. I've got this other scrapbooking paper that I'm going to be using. I've cut that down. And then just some white cardstock. So there we are. So I'm going to be doing flip throughs every once in a while as I create the pages, just to show you how I'm organizing it. But that's what we've got. All right, so let me know what you think. Even though the colors may not be your style, that's fine. Can you see how you can use the technique with your own style and make it truly your own? What do you think? So let me know in the comments below. And if you have any suggestions or something you'd like to see in an upcoming video, let me know. I read every single comment. Unless it's spam. All right. So until I see you in the next video, stay inspired.